year was 1789, and the United States had just won the Revolutionary War. After being elected the first president of the country, George Washington had a monumental task in front of him. There were major issues like the national debt versus states' debt, slavery, Native American affairs, monetary policy, not to mention a squabbling executive team consisting of Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton, who couldn't seem to agree on anything. These were just a few of the things on his plate as he took office. So what was one of the first strategic initiatives that Washington undertook as president? He decided to take a 2-year-long tour of the states to unify, listen, and build a nation. This handwritten map from Washington's journals outlines the southern part of his tour when he was visiting Charleston, South Carolina in 1791. And this tour wasn't about kissing babies and shaking hands. Sure, there was a lot of that, and you'll still hear the stories today about Washington slept here, or this is a Washington elm that was planted when the president visited. You can follow the tour and you can find those artifacts. But this tour was intentional, and there was a lot of care put into the itinerary and thought behind why he was taking this tour. For example, as he set out into the New England states in 1789, Washington chose intentionally not to visit Rhode Island because they had yet to ratify the Constitution, a subtle nudge for them to fall in line. This also was not a tour of luxury. Washington and his small staff traveled by open carriage over terrible roads. They stayed at local taverns and they dined with the people. While the food may have not been great, the message was clear. Washington was not a despot, and he was a leader of the people. I could go on and on as I find this area of history is extremely interesting. But for leaders today, there's a lot of lessons we can take away from the inaugural tour of General Washington. First and foremost, get out of your seat. Washington wanted nothing more than to stay at Mount Vernon and be a farmer. He wanted that during the Revolutionary War, and he wanted it during his presidency. He wrote about it extensively in his journals about how he just wished he could leave and go back. But that wasn't what he needed to do. As the CEO of the country, he needed to be out and about. He needed to be with the people, and this is what he needed to do. He left for long stretches, and he went out, and he was with the people. So don't sit in your office. When you go into work every morning, is the first thing you do sit down and check your email? You might want to rethink that and get out there and listen. It's where you'll learn the most information. Second, Washington really focused on being relatable. So his carriage that he chose was rather humble. He stayed in local taverns. He didn't stay with the elite. He didn't stay in their houses and go on a tour and eat well. He ate corn mush and milk most of the time, which is great for a person with bad teeth. But he was very intentional about that, and that sent a clear message. This is in stark contrast to George III, King of England at the time, who rode in this gold carriage that was often followed by a procession of over a mile long of people. Washington traveled with about 5 to 10 people with him. And finally, I can't stress this enough, listen. Washington was a master at listening. He went out and he heard the opinions of the people. This was really important at this time in the country because he needed information on how people felt about the new country, how they felt about policies that were being enacted, how they felt about him as a leader. There were such varying degrees of opinions that were going around the nation. The southern states and the northern states obviously were not on the same page, and Washington listened to everybody and took that back to try and be the best leader that he could. So as always, take a look at history. You can learn a lot as a leader from looking back, and it can help you move forward. Class dismissed for the day.